It's the Scott Sand Show on News Radio 1370 and 92.9 FM. Available on more than 2,000 smart devices everywhere. Just look for WSPD on iHeartRadio. And if you miss any of this show, you can listen on demand as well. Let's just go ahead and do this. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, on the Scott Sand Show. Mr. President, good afternoon.
Hi, Scott. How are you?
I'm thrilled to have you on. It's a real honor, sir.
It's my honor. That's a great state. My honor.
You know, last time we spoke, Mr. President, you were on my show in 2016, and I endorsed you in the campaign.
Right. That was a big turn, although I've done pretty well in that state. We love Ohio.
I was going to say things have turned out pretty well for you since then.
Yeah, it's been really great, and we fought very hard for your governor that he gets in, and we're doing a good job up there. It's a great place, and it'll be opening up soon. It'll be opening up and really safely soon. How are you finding things?
Well, every business is starting to slowly reopen. We've got outdoor dining starting this week, and restaurant dining will open next week. I think the thing that everybody here is worried about, Mr. President, is how to balance the need to go back to work and earn an income with the danger of being exposed to the coronavirus.
Right, and that's true. The one thing is we've learned a lot. You know, when I had it closed, we did everything. We've done it right. We closed it. It was, we had the greatest, better than anybody, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. By the way, in the history of the world. There's never been, China had the worst year. This is before this horror show coming in, the plague. But China had the worst year in 67 years. We had the best year that we've ever had, and we had to close it down. It was so... And yet if we didn't do that, you would have had millions of people die. So, we did the right thing. Now we're opening it up. I think what people have to remember, though, and I think it's very important, Scott, is that when you get out there, it really affects a very small, tiny percentage of people. Now, if you're old or older, and if you have diabetes or if you have a bad heart, things, that group should stick around a little while. Just stay in the house, stay shielded for a little while. But it really it has very little impact on young, very, very little impact, and on most people. And most people get better, and then they probably get immunity from it in the future. So very important. It really targets people with some difficulty. Also targets people with AIDS. So we have to take care of our senior citizen centers. Very important because they were really hit hard. But people are doing that. But people have to remember, most people are very minorly affected by this. They fight it off. Their system fights it off.
I know you speak with Governor DeWine on a regular basis. How would you grade his performance here in Ohio responding to the pandemic compared to, say, Governor Whitmer just to our north in Michigan?
Well, he's doing it with more heart. She's got I don't know what's going on with her. Nobody can do anything, and no, he's doing it with more heart. He's doing a very good job. We're proud of him. He's showing compassion at the same time. It's a problem. Look, this is a gift from China, and we don't want it. This is a gift we didn't want. We had just signed a great trade deal with China. The ink wasn't even dry, and all of a sudden, here comes the plague. So we're not happy about it. Let me tell you, we're not happy about it. But no, he's doing a very good job. He's doing it with compassion. She's not showing any compassion. She's just, there are things that they're doing that are unnecessary. People aren't going to stand for that. They're not going to stand for it. I see it. They're not going to stand for it. They have to get back. The other side of the equation is bad too. The other side of the equation, people are dying from that also. Maybe in larger numbers. If you look at suicides, if you look at losing jobs, your economics, you go from having a great job to maybe not having a job because it's taken too long.
Right.
If you look at, drug addiction, the drug use goes up, and it's been going up, and that's not bad. I've been fighting that so hard, and all of a sudden you see the numbers starting to go up. We can't let that happen. So, no, I think your governor's done a good mix.
I want to get back to the drug addiction issue in just a second, Mr. President. I was looking at some of the numbers from Project Airbridge, and here in Ohio alone, that effort has delivered 3 million surgical masks, 71 million surgical gloves, 2 million gowns. Right. But now that businesses are starting to reopen, Governor DeWine has issued all sorts of sanitary guidelines that also require PPE. And I'm hearing from business owners that they're struggling to find that gear. They're struggling to find gloves and cleaning supplies at a commercial level, or they can't afford to buy it because they've been shut down for the last 8 weeks. Is there anything similar to Project Airbridge that your task force could put together to supply PPE to Ohio businesses so they can safely reopen?
Well, we've gotten it for the states. We really helped Ohio a lot, but we've helped all the states. We've done a great job in terms of the ventilators. When I took over, the cupboard was bare. We didn't have things left by the Obama administration, and we had very few ventilators, and all of a sudden we need thousands. So we've gone into that business. We're making thousands of ventilators, and now the country is totally stocked with far in excess of what we need. And we're actually helping out other countries where they're having, look, this isn't just our country, other countries. And what we'll do, and testing the same thing, we've done more tests now than the entire world combined, if you can, by a lot more than the entire world combined. And we're making tests available. And, well, ideally, I would think that the government, your local government would be able to help you out because they're getting it from the state, and the state's getting a lot of it. They can buy directly, but if they need help, they can come to us. So I would imagine that will straighten out. But I look for the time when you're not going to need that in the hopefully not too distant future, because we want to go back to what it was. We want to go back. You walk into a store and you buy something. You don't walk into the store like you're walking into a dangerous area. And I think that's going to be happening sooner rather than later. Also, vaccines. We're doing very well in the vaccine hunt, and it's nothing subject to vaccines, because who knows, but we've had things, nothing like this. This hasn't happened since 1917, but we've had some pretty bad flus and viruses, and they go away, and they never come up with a vaccine. But I think despite that, we are really putting the all-out search for vaccines and therapeutics, and it's happening. I think we'll have something by the end of the year.
Mr. President, as you know, agriculture is a huge industry here in Ohio. Last month, the Coronavirus Food Assistance Program provided, I believe, $19 billion for farm relief around the country. How concerned are you, sir, about the economic survival of small family farms here in Ohio, and what can you do to ensure our food supply chain remains stable?
Well, as you know, what I did, Scott, is over the last 2 years, I gave $12 billion to the farmers, thank you, China, and then I gave $16 billion because China targeted our farmers. So I said to Sonny Perdue, our Secretary of Agriculture, I said, how much money are we talking about? What are we talking about in terms of how much were they targeted? And 2 years ago it was $12 billion. He said, $12 billion, sir. I said, how about now? $16 billion. I wrote him a check for $12 billion. I took it out of the tariffs. We had a lot left over for the Treasury. I took from China $12 billion. I gave it to the farmers. I think you know that. I gave $16 billion last year. That was a check, $16 billion to the farmers. Now, without that money, they would have been in trouble. But I gave them that money. And this year, we're going to be giving $19 billion. One of the things we just did also, I saw food lines. And, which is something we haven't seen for a while, but, because of this problem. And they were buying food, and I said, no, let's buy it from our farmers. So I think you heard last week I authorized $3 billion to buy food from our farmers and distribute it to people in lines.
You keep mentioning China, and you mentioned our trade deal earlier, Mr. President. What can we do to encourage manufacturing jobs to come back into the United States and back to Ohio? What kind of incentives are you prepared to offer companies to repatriate that money? Yeah,
so I probably got elected because of that. That was my big thing. And as you saw, the car industry, everything was really rocking. They were coming back. We were building car plants. You have some in your state. You have a lot of them going to Ohio, but from Japan, from other places, they were coming back. And then we had the plague set in. We built a lot of things, but the whole thing was we want to get our pharmaceuticals back. That was all started. Everything was starting, and then this happened. But no, we're doing that. That's if we've learned one thing from this, and I think it's so important, Scott, it's that we have to stop with these stupid chains where we're taking pieces of something. You make a car that comes from 7 different countries. We should make our own product, and we should have never got. Those are called globalists. They want to make the globe good. They don't care about our country. We have to think, I talk America first, and that's what I mean. It's America first. We have to put America first. It's time. And, these other countries, they put their country first. They don't care. They've been ripping us off for so many years. And China, the numbers were really getting good for us with China for the first time in 25 years. And then this thing set in. China had the worst year before this, the worst year in 67 years. And we had the best year we've ever had. And we're going to now have it again. We're going to have a transition. I call it the transition to greatness. But we're going to have a transition. Third quarter is going to be a transition to the fourth quarter. And the fourth quarter is going to be very good. And next year we're going to have one of our best years. And I think you feel that. There's a pent-up demand that's incredible.
Unfortunately, Mr. President, many experts are saying it's going to be 10 or 15 years for employment levels to return to where they were just a few months ago at the end of last year. Just here in Ohio, sir, we had more people in the last 3 months file new unemployment claims than we had in the last 3 years combined. So what makes you specifically so optimistic about the economic recovery?
Well, others are also optimistic. There are some. You have two sides of it. Some aren't as optimistic. I think everyone knows we're going to be in okay shape, but I think we're going to be in really good shape, especially if we get the vaccine. And I'm not even counting on vaccine, because you get it, you don't get it. Sometimes, we've had many,
that could be
flus
that could be
and
2 years
viruses.
away, sir.
Well, it could be. It could also be by the end of the year. They could have it by the end of the year because we're really putting a rush. In fact, today we're introducing our military because we're getting set up to distribute the vaccine as it's being developed. We are doing great on development of therapeutics and vaccine. But even forgetting about that, there's a tremendous demand. You see what's going on in Wisconsin where they got a court order to let people go back. And I think a very big thing is really the fact that most people are not affected physically by this. They catch it. Some of them don't even know they have it, and it goes away. And they're probably immune. That hasn't been really determined yet, but probably they're immune and possibly for a lifetime. So I think you're going to have I think there's a great pent-up demand, and I think you're going to have a great opening. I really believe that. I'll be talking to you in January. Let's see if I'm right.
Do you believe extending unemployment benefits and additional stimulus payments are more of a disincentive to return to work?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. They put up a package that's so crazy. The Democrats basically, it was a package to make sure that people vote for them, with the ballots and with all the different tricks that they put in. And by the way, speaking of that, we won 2 congressional seats, the Republicans. We won one in Wisconsin. That was a tight race, and he won by a lot. And we won first time in California in 22 years. We won a great race in California where a Democrat seat was lost to a Republican. That just happened 2 days ago. So there are things happening. But people want to have the country open up.
Sir, do you believe the stimulus payments are actually a disincentive to go back to work?
Well, I said I didn't like the way they were set up. Don't forget, they were set up by largely by Democrats. That if you don't get it, we need the Democrat votes because it's very close. Both the House and the Senate are very close. So we need the Democrat votes. And I said, wait a minute. These people get more money if they don't go back to work. What kind of a deal is this? That's what they wanted. And I said, you know what? We have no choice. But I said, go back and renegotiate. So I don't love it. Most people are doing it anyway. They're going back. Some would rather get a little bit more, but it's a little bit of a disincentive the way they set it up. And I was on it. You heard me complaining about that originally. It was obvious. But it's a lot of money coming into a lot of people and a lot of good people, and they're all going back to work.
Mr. President, I'm honored here in Lucas County to serve on Sheriff Tharp's drug abuse response team. You mentioned drug addiction earlier this afternoon. We've noticed recent upticks in overdose cases just in the past couple of weeks, which could be related to both unemployment and the stimulus payments. How critical is it to get America back to work as part of this battle against drug addiction and even domestic abuse?
Well, it's imperative. And, that's what we're talking about. If, there's death on one side, there's death on the other side, too. You want to be tough. They can be tough, but people are going back to drugs and they're going back to all of the problems that we're very proud. We dropped drug use in your state by 18%, and that was a lot. That was a great achievement. All of a sudden, that's going to get wiped out. Because there really is a big problem. If you look, Scott, a big problem with being locked in your house for so long. And it causes problems. Plus, they lose their job, and now all of a sudden they go from a great job to having no job and not a great prospect, and it's causing anxiety and suicides and bad things happen. So that's why we have to get open and we have to get everybody to work.
On the plus side, being locked at home for a few weeks did allow all of America to watch the Tiger King documentary.
Well, that's true. I got to watch a little bit of it, too. That's a piece of work. They're all screaming, pardon him, whatever his name is. Pardon him. Please pardon him. You tell me. Is he guilty? You tell me.
He's a nut job, but he's certainly fun to watch.
He's definitely a little different. They're all screaming, that please pardon, whatever his name is.
Joe Exotic.
Anyway.
Mr. President, we're talking about another stimulus package in the House today. Are you concerned at all about our national debt? We're spending trillions of dollars that we as a country don't have.
I hate it. What we'll do is we'll take care of this first, and then we're going to work on that. I was all set to work on that 100% after, because we built this great economy, and now this next term I was going to work on that. We had to throw money at this, Scott. We had no choice. We had really no choice. We had to do it. We'll work on that. I say fix it first, and then we'll work on the debt. The debt we'll be able to control. We have the greatest currency in the world, and the dollar is very strong, and everybody wants to invest. And the good news is we're doing long-term financing. We're paying practically zero interest, and in some cases actually zero. We're paying no interest. So that's a good thing. That's one of the good things that's come out of being strong.
Are you preparing for any sort of scenario where you could have to look at another shutdown due to a second wave of cases of COVID-19?
No, I don't want to do that. Nope, I don't want to do shutdowns. I want to do maybe if there's a local area in Ohio, if there's a local area in some state, or a number of them, you'll do area where they'll do some kinds of shutdowns in areas. In other words, we'll put out the fire. I talk about embers. No, we're not doing shutdowns on large scale, that's for sure.
There have been news stories in the past few weeks about a pandemic playbook that was compiled under the Obama administration. Based on what you and your task force have learned from dealing with COVID-19, what kind of advice would you pass along in a playbook for the next president, which we assume will be 5 years from now?
Well, we have to. Well, we hope so, and we have to be very careful with this one. It's a very hopefully. Look, here's the key. This hasn't happened in over 100 years. Anything like this, hopefully, will be longer than that, because this is not something that is even sustainable. You can't do this. And we did all the right moves, or we would have had millions of people dead instead of the numbers that you see. And one is too many. But we have a very strong playbook. We were left a weak playbook, very weak playbook. It was not appropriate. We weren't left. Hey, we weren't left. I talk about the cupboard was bare. We weren't left medical. We weren't left ventilators. We weren't left all of the things. By the way, we weren't left a military. I've rebuilt the military. $1.5 trillion. We have the best military we've ever had. We weren't left a lot. This country was in trouble. I will tell you that. So now we have a great military, a powerful military. What we've done is an incredible thing. And I did it with a fake investigation. You see what's going on with Flynn now. It's a fake Russia hoax. And now they've been caught in the greatest political scandal of all time in this country. They've been caught. So we're watching that whole situation very closely, and wait till you see what happens. But with that, I guess we have to go, Scott. But I want to just thank you. I hope you're watching that political. Well, I know you are, actually, but I hope you're watching that very carefully.
Mr. President, I'm honored to have you on the show. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you again. And I hear you want to make another trip to Ohio very soon. You were just in Toledo in January.
Right.
Hopefully you'll be through our state again soon.
And I'll see you. I'd love you to come around. You've been a really great friend. And you know what? You've got a great show, too.
Mr. President, I'm going to hold you to it. I appreciate it.
Well, you have great people. You have tough people, too, like Jim Jordan. You have plenty of tough ones, right? They had tough cookies. There's no games, right, with Jim. And so many people. You have. I love that state. What can I tell you?
We're trying to buy Jim a sports coat to wear in Congress.
Well, he likes showing off those muscles, NCAA champion wrestler, right? He likes showing off those muscles, I guess, right? But he's a great guy. He's a great patriot, too. And he loves your state. So, Scott, you take care of yourself. When I come in, you'll come and join us, I hope.
I will be there with bells on, sir.
Thank you very much, Scott. Take care of yourself.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Goodbye.
The President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, here on the Scott Sand Show, News Radio 1370 and 92.9 FM.